Shavua Tov. Shavua Tov to all friends and to all who maybe are joining for the first time. It's an incredibly important conversation, and I hope that you will all glean much from this particular parsha. Every parsha is tremendously important. Everything that is written in Torah and that the work that we do every week is very, very, very important. It's rare that I will rely on someone else to do the work that I do. But yesterday I received this Dvar Torah from Avi Abelow on his site, on his website, which is Israel Video Network, Pulse of Israel Group. I'll put up everything after we finish, but I can tell you that what I read here is as close to what would be my interpretation and my teaching on this conversation of Shoftim. But what I can tell you is Avi is an incredible, incredible spokesman for Israel. And at this stage in our lives as Jews in the world, it's incredibly important to have voices that are intelligent, trustworthy, honest, and who will give you a real look into something that is actually happening and is real and is true and isn't about blah, blah, but it puts things exactly where they are. So the parsha starts out with the words, remember, we're in Deuteronomy. We're in the 5th book of Moses. Moses is basically retelling the children of Israel the 40-year experience that he, as a leader, the leader, had with the people, as well as all of the laws reiterated and brought to a level where everyone can understand the words of Hashem. Here are the words that start off Shoftim. You must appoint judges and sheriffs for yourselves in all your cities that God, your God, is giving you for each of your tribes. You must judge the people by rendering fair judgment. You must not pervert justice. Pervert justice. Prevert also. You must not show partiality. You must not accept a bribe, for bribery blinds the eyes of the sages and perverts the just words of the Torah. Justice, justice must you pursue in order that you live and take possession of the land that God, your God, is giving you. In those lines are contained everything that we need to know. The interpretation of what is written and the way it is written comes throughout the Parsha and throughout Torah, because nothing here in the book of Dvarim is new. We've studied it, we know it, and we know from our work that everything that you could possibly want to know and every answer that you could possibly be looking for, whether it is for your private life, for the world, for politics, whatever it is, the truth, the way you should react and act is already written. Like in everything else, you have the choice to be or not to be truthful, to be understanding, to be moral or to be immoral, to accept immorality on every level or not. But there is justice, and justice is what you will get if you go the way of Torah. Here are the words of Avi Abelow. Parashat Shoftim, the Torah's revolution of justice and Israel's urgent need for reform. Tzedek, tzedek, tirdov, lema'an tichi. Justice, justice you shall pursue, so that you may live. These words ring louder than ever today, not just as a line from the Torah, but as a prophetic demand, a calling, a challenge we can no longer ignore. The Torah doesn't say love justice or admire justice. It says pursue it, run after it, chase it, work for it, even if it's hard, especially when it's hard. But Torah doesn't tell us to pursue justice. It defines what justice actually is. And that's where the world today, including our own country, is falling apart. The Torah introduced justice to the world. We take it for granted today, but the very concept of a moral, accountable legal system of objective law applied fairly to all was unheard of before Torah. In the ancient world, justice meant power decides right, kings are gods, the poor and weak have no voice. The Torah shattered that. In Parashat Shoftim, we read about a justice system that was centuries, millennia ahead of its time. Impartial judges do not pervert judgment, do not take bribes. Accountability for leaders. Even the king must write and carry a Torah. Checks and balances. With Kohanim, judges, and a court of law last resort. With a court and a court of law, again, checks and balances with Kohanim, so the priests, the high priests, judges, and a court of last resort. Witnesses, not rumors, by the mouth of two witnesses, no anonymous slander or trial by media. The Torah justice system was designed with one goal: to align earthly justice with heavenly truth, to be not just functional, but holy. Justice versus equity. The world's distorted morality. But today, we're watching the concept of justice being hijacked, especially in the Western world. They call it equity, but it's not equality under the law. It's engineering outcomes based on group identity. Not blind justice, but selective justice. Not fair treatment, but forced results based on race, gender, class, or ideology. It's no longer what's right. It's who's the victim or what narrative fits the agenda. And judges, lawyers, and law professors are championing this distortion, claiming to serve justice while trampling its essence. They've replaced divine standards with moral relativism, and it's spreading like wildfire, affecting academia, media, courts, even diplomacy. Israel is supposed to be different, but the injustice starts at the top. Here's the painful irony. Israel, the one place on earth that should be guided by the Torah justice system, is instead being controlled by an elite, unaccountable legal class that doesn't answer to the people and doesn't reflect Torah values. Israel today. Politicians are the most heavily policed group in the country, and they should be, as power corrupts. Every move they make is scrutinized, investigated, leaked, litigated. Even democratically elected officials are blocked by unelected legal advisors and overruled by activist judges, and democratically allowed appointments are shut down by those same legal advisors and judges. But who watches the watchers? Who holds the Supreme Court accountable? Who oversees the Attorney General, the state prosecutor, the legal advisors in every ministry? No one. They're self-appointed, self-promoting, and self-protecting, hold immense power, yet face zero public oversight. The most powerful people with no one to stop their corruption due to the power. And over time, many have weaponized the law not to enforce justice, but to protect their worldview and prevent any challenge to their authority. They make up rules that totally go against the written law, like forbidding the government to fire and hire a head of intelligence services. The world is thirsty for true justice from Zion. The prophet Yeshayahu says, "For from Zion shall go forth Torah, and the word of Hashem from Jerusalem." Isaiah 2:3. The nations are supposed to look to Israel for guidance, for moral clarity, for justice rooted in holiness. How can the Torah guide the nations when it's being sidelined by our own legal experts in our own courts? Judicial reform is not politics. It's Torah obligation. That is not just about coalitions or legislations. It's about restoring justice to its proper place. The Torah commands a judicial system that is answerable to the people, bound by God's law, transparent, fair, and humble. We need reform not because we hate the courts, but because we love justice. Reform is not just a necessity, it's a return to our national mission. More people are waking up, and that's a sign of hope. This parsha is not theoretical. I'm leaving out some things that I think you will want to read on your own. This parsha is not theoretical. It is directly related to our generation. It calls on us to pursue truth even when it's unpopular. Hold all power accountable even when it wears a robe. Believe that Torah law is not archaic. It's eternal, moral, and the only system that can truly uphold justice. Justice, justice. Run after justice. Don't pursue slogans. Don't pursue narratives. Pursue real justice, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it shakes the system. Final words. Justice begins with us. We are not just bystanders. We're a nation chosen to model righteousness, and that starts with fighting for truth, starting with ourselves, our leaders, and our courts. May we merit to see a restored legal system in Israel, guiding by humility, accountability, and Torah values. And may we see soon the fulfillment of the prophecy, "I will restore your judges as at the beginning, and your counselors as of old. Shabbat Shalom from our ancestral homeland. Avi Abelow. Absolutely and totally a picture that must be, no question about it, for us, because we are the chosen lamplighters of the world. Hashem gave us the mission to take from Torah what is the moral standard of the world. The moral standard of the world today has nothing to do with anything that we just heard. Has nothing to do with value, with morality, with looking at things in the way they are. And when you make death, and when you make terrorism, and when you make horror of what happened October 7th, the bystander of what is Weltanschauung, worldview at this moment, and you allow and you make and you reward this horror with all the best in the world, and that's exactly what's happening, then you must look at what is guiding our country meaning Israel, which is Torah. There is no country in the world that has ever worried about civilians like Israel. There is no country in the world that gives time, money, food, and order to their enemies. Nobody gets phone calls, nobody gets signals, nobody gets flyers. There is going to be an attack, get out. Nobody gets told. Nobody gets warned. Where does this come from? It comes directly from Torah. Whoever heard of giving the enemy that is destroying and looking to destroy today, tomorrow, and in the future, your country, the privilege of receiving humanitarian aid? Where's the humanitarian aid for the Sudan? Where is it for Rwanda? Where is it for Afghanistan? Where is it for any place? Where is it for Ukraine? Where is all of what is going on? Where is all the PR that is being accepted by the world as a new truth and being judged by the world as truth? Where is justice? Where is human justice and where is divine justice? It's not here. Where is it that human shields are being used in children of a perfect human shield? How those innocents are not innocent. They are taught from the beginning, from kindergarten, even before, to kill. They don't know anything else. There isn't even a possibility to blame a child for going and being a human shield, because that's all they know. It's all they know. I put out so much information, and if you go on my site, you will see that there are no comments. There are no people that are looking at it. So the only thing they look at is what is being put out by the media and what is being put out by voices that, I guess, speak to them in a way that our voice can't speak, because we are Jews. And Jewish blood for 3,000 years flows without justice. On the 21st of September is the International Day of Peace. It's the day on which I launched, for the past 5 years, the national concourse, so the national competition of poetry of the Shoah and peace. Remember and never forget, in Italy. Watch me on the 21st of September doing the same thing again, but in a different way. And all of you people, hypocrites, that wrote poetry for 5 years and who adored and who did whatever you could, in quotations, to help me be successful and win your trust to be part of understanding of what is Shoah and what is peace, and being rewarded for your efforts by me, not by sponsors and not by organizations and not by television and not by anybody, by me. But after the 7th of October, where is your justice? Where did it go? What happened to it? Where is your support for the work that I've done for the past 8 years in Italy? When I left 2 months ago, why did I leave? Because you destroyed our relationships and you became, I guess, the liar, because the poems that you wrote have nothing to do with the actual behavior of most of you. So, what are we talking about? Maybe you're angry at me right now for saying what I did. Maybe you're angry at the Torah for putting out what it does. Maybe you're angry at Avi for saying what he did and presenting what he did. And in reality, that is your right. That is justice. We have the choice. Let me know. But don't sit back and take on that garbage that you hear day after day after day after day and go demonstrating against what you know and what you wrote for 5 years. And there are 5 anthologies of all of your writing that talk about what you say you feel as poets, as writers, in the schools that I went to. And what is the truth? The truth is completely different. And I can tell it without your saying a word, just by your reaction to the things that I put out. So not only did you annihilate my work, your truth of the world, but you became part of the injustice of the judges, because you make yourself a judge without having knowledge, without really listening and wanting to know the truth, but being grabbed by the miserable, horrible, disgraceful, disgusting lies that are being put out. That's your justice. I'm against it. I fight for justice. And I fight for truth. And what is not right in my country, I can say without being embarrassed, because the perfection is only one, and that is Torah and what is written. And anything that is not done according to what is written is unjust, is not the way Hashem wants us to live on his soil, on his gift to our people. We need to be the lamplighters of the world. And as we look to protect even our enemy, we have to also protect our people. Okay. I've said what I need to say, at least for the moment. I send you blessings for health and peace and godliness in your life. And ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. And when you come down to all of Torah, that is the most powerful wording of everything that the Torah stands for. Because if you really love your neighbor as yourself, you can never, ever, ever do what you're doing. Shavua Tov. Blessings to everyone.